Well, Bad Wolves have just released a statement confirming the departure of their frontman Tommy Vext after rumors emerged last night that Vext was in fact leaving the band. There were people who were watching Tommy's Instagram live where he apparently was describing that he had left the band and he was going to be going solo and releasing his own project. Certainly seems likely now because the band has in fact confirmed his departure. There's a lot of layers to this, and I want to try to understand as much of this as we can together. I know a lot of you guys like Bad Wolves. It's no secret that I am a big fan of their music. I listen to their music a lot. I think they've got great riffs, and I think, quite frankly, that Tommy is a very good singer. So before we get started, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe and drop a thumbs up on this video and leave a comment down below. Subscribing is the best way to support the channel. All right, so Bad Wolves comes onto the scene about 5 years ago. They have this song, Learn to Live. Maybe it was sooner than then. Maybe it was 2017, but they haven't been around that long. But you know guitarist Doc Coyle from God Forbid, one of the most underrated metalcore bands of all time. Also one of my favorite groups. Doc likes to be in all of my favorite bands. And so when Bad Wolves came out, I was immediately excited because God Forbid had broken up a few years prior. They had an amicable split, and then Doc comes in and has this new project, and I love his work. So when I heard this, I immediately knew it was going to be special. I immediately knew it was going to be something big. The chorus was great. The music was incredibly intense. They had this certain swagger to them. They had this certain energy to them where everything was sort of firing on all cylinders. Unfortunately, oftentimes when you have that sort of level of aggression in music, it often brings with it a certain toxicity within the band, I think. I don't know why that is. I can't describe. I'm not like a therapist, so I can't really describe why that might be, but you've seen it manifest itself in bands like Pantera. You've seen it manifest itself in bands like System of a Down. When there's like a good thing starting to get off the ground, sometimes there's volatility internally in the band, and we saw signs of that very early on. It's no secret Tommy had differing political opinions than other guys in the band, but it did seem, I just want to say this, I'm seeing a lot of comments, and this kind of bums me out. From my point of view, okay, knowing Doc, Tommy said a lot of stuff that Doc didn't agree with. Tommy said political things that Doc didn't agree with. Doc said things that Tommy didn't agree with. But for a time, it seemed as though, I don't think that Doc's not into cancel culture and all this stuff. There's a lot of people just assuming that they kicked Tommy out because he doesn't like Trump, and they're like, we're kicking him out. Well, 5 days before the guy's out of office seems a little inconvenient to do that. I mean, he's been saying this stuff for a very long time, and I don't think that's the reason why they kicked him out. I don't think that these guys are about, I don't agree with you, so I'm going to kick you out of the band. I don't think that's what happened here, and I feel bad for them because when these things happen, when you take the high road, it comes at the expense of being able to say everything you want to say, which is immensely painful. It's a really painful thing to go through, and I've seen this happen with bands and people that I know that are in bands, and it's a very painful experience when there's a bunch of people in the comments going, oh yeah, I know why you did this. Well, no, you don't necessarily know, and I don't know. And so when people speculate like that, I think it sucks because the fact of the matter is sometimes people just don't get along. He does have a large audience, and so I think that he is going to get people to support him. And likewise with Bad Wolves. I think that but here's the thing that I would say to Bad Wolves. If I was, their manager, I would say Bad Wolves needs to find another bold frontman. And that's hard to do because oftentimes the people that you find that are the boldest are not necessarily the easiest to get along with. So it's like walking a really fine line. I would suggest maybe Christian, formerly of El Nino. I would suggest maybe Howard Jones. You've got vocalists out there who would mesh well with that style. They've got the heavier vocals. They've got that ability, but they can also sing. But they also come with a built-in fan base, and they also come with that built-in experience. And I think it would be interesting to see another bold, well-known frontman step into the fold there. The same thing almost happened with Five Finger Death Punch a few years ago, where you had Tommy stepping in when Ivan was away, and there were these rumors that Tommy was going to be the person who was the frontman of Five Finger Death Punch. Ultimately, if that were to have happened, it would have worked out for Five Finger Death Punch because, again, they brought in a guy who was almost, the same level of bold and in your face and spontaneous as Ivan was. So I feel as though Bad Wolves, they can't bring in some guy, in my opinion, that nobody knows. They can't bring in someone. They've got to bring in a rock star type person who comes in and is in your face and bold. And that does not mean that they have to be a political person or anything like that, but you probably want somebody who is a known figure that is a immensely vocal. I would be very interested to see what Bad Wolves would sound like with Howard Jones. Wouldn't you? I'd be very interested to see what it would sound like with Christian. I would be very interested to see. There's a lot of vocal talent out there that's underutilized. And there are a lot of guys in well-known bands that could do two bands, like Corey did with Slipknot and Stone Sour. They're on hiatus right now, but, like he does. I think that's possible too. So it would be really interesting because you've got this band of extremely talented musicians who are successful, who have a bunch of hit singles, who are still on the upswing. And I hope that if you're I implore you, if you're a Bad Wolves fan, you don't have to pick a side. You can support Tommy Vext's new project. And quite frankly, I hope everybody involved continues to treat each other amicably. Even if whatever went down, they're pissed at each other right now and they don't like each other right now, that's going to fade. And ultimately, life is too short to sit around and hate each other. If you've decided you're not going to be in a band together anymore, then move on. No doubt in my mind that whatever Tommy does next, people are going to support. He has a massive fan base behind him and growing. So he's not on the downswing. And I think the same is true about Bad Wolves, but I do think that they have to make a calculated decision in what they do with filling that frontman spot because they are like a rock band's rock band. They are that sort of quintessential rock star band. So I do feel that they have to make some calculation in that selection. But these are smart people. There's smart people involved with the band. There's smart people in the band, talented people in the band. So I think that everybody here is going to be fine. But I would just suggest to the fans, I would imagine that they're not solely kicking him out due to politics. I'm certainly not a proponent of, cancel culture or anything like that. It's okay for people not to agree. But at the same time, if that evolves into people not respecting each other or people not treating each other well, then that's a different thing. So let's look at the statement that Bad Wolves released. It seems like it was a joint statement as well with Tommy. This is typical with these bands. There's usually paperwork attached to it, and it's like an approved statement by both parties. All right, so as you can see, it says Bad Wolves have confirmed a rumored split with the band's frontman, Tommy Vext. I go into the backstory there, and it says, the statement reads, this is the official statement from the band. Actually, let me just scroll down to their actual post. It says, it's true that Bad Wolves and vocalist Tommy Vext have parted ways. The four of us plan to continue making music, and a new album is planned for later this year. Tommy has been a big part of Bad Wolves, and we are grateful for his contribution. There's not much else to report at the moment, but to send love and gratitude to the fans who have supported Bad Wolves from day one. We would not be here without you. So as you can see, this is not a disrespectful statement to the fans. So you have that element to it. And then you have Tommy he'd been sending like some kind of hints about there being maybe a tumultuous situation unfolding within the band, within the ranks. But, it's obviously very possible something could have changed along the way. But when I saw this comment, I found this to be a little interesting, and it's kind of a window into maybe how things were, how they viewed each other inside the band. And this guy says, how does it feel to know you have had bandmates as well as fans who think you are washed because of your support for our president? And Tommy said, I think the word is employees. My employees can think whatever they want because I'm a fair employer. Only 2 people write the songs in the band. It's me and John. We are signed and actually own and run the company. So because I'm a fair person, I don't terminate people based on their political beliefs because I respect for the First Amendment, unlike some other groups of quote unquote people. And when I saw that, I just thought it was a little striking because I felt as though maybe that's sort of a window into how they feel about each other. Because, if you're in a band, typically that can be, you're in a group with some of your best friends. And if you're referring to them as employees, my employees, maybe things aren't so rosy anymore. And so, here you go, lo and behold, 24 hours later, you're seeing his departure from the group. And it's just unfortunate. It's negative all the way around. I wish everybody peace in this situation. And I hope that everybody moves on and is able to move on and do so. And again, to the fans out there of Bad Wolves, I would suggest not everything's political. Not everything out there is, not everything is about politics. I think sometimes people don't get along for different reasons. And I would suspect that is what is happening in this case. You're seeing them already. These guys' comments are being flooded on social media by people who are slamming them by saying this was a politically driven opinion. Doc has said repeatedly in the past that he doesn't agree with what Tommy says, but he defends his right to say it. Doc has been very clear on that issue. He's not a cancel culture guy. He can have disagreements with people, and I'm sure it's not easy for him to say that. The easy thing would have been for them to have kicked Tommy out, 6, 7, 8 months ago. If we're going off of people being outraged at things he says. I mean, let's be real here. The same goes, by the way, to System of a Down. System of a Down could have kicked John Dolmayan out, but they didn't, because that's not what you do. I mean, you have to be able to have discourse and disagreements with each other. So that's why I think this is something else. And I would offer reasonable people out there on the internet. Not everyone's going to be reasonable. I understand that. But if you're a reasonable person, you're watching that, cut these people some slack, man. They're real people. All people involved. They're all real people with complexities and brains that are imperfect. And this is probably a hard thing to go through, whether they admit that or not. So, anyways, be nice to each other, man. We can't keep treating each other like shit in the world. It's just not sustainable. So anyways, folks, that is all for now. Thanks so much for joining me today at Rockfeed. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on breaking news and updates. Maybe, just maybe, you might enjoy one of these clips. Join me on Instagram and Spotify for news you may not find here. And if you really want to do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support.